In today's story, one tiny kick in a crowded Tet market makes Quang freeze, because for the first time, he realizes he can't control everything, only protect the two people he loves most. Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're going to explore Quang and Linda's warm Tet shopping trip, full of small moments, quiet worries, and the sweetest reminder that Linda is still heavily pregnant, and this Tet is truly for three. If you enjoy this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. Morning light slips through the curtains and lands in pale stripes across the wooden floor. The kettle clicks off. The house is clean, warm, waiting. Linda sits at the small table with a notepad open, one hand resting on her very pregnant belly. Her list is simple: incense, candles, tea, candied ginger, sunflower seeds, fruit, red paper, flowers. Quang comes in with a mug of warm water and sets it beside her, close enough that she doesn't have to lean. He reads the list, then quietly takes her pen and adds 3 blunt notes. No heavy bags, breaks, no standing too long. Linda looks up, amused. Are we going shopping or doing an inspection? He gives her a small smile. Both. I can still walk, she says. There's pride in it. She's been carrying this baby for months, her belly full and high now, and she's tired of being handled like she might crack. I know, Quang says. He opens the tote bag by the chair and slips in crackers and a folded scarf. Linda watches. Quang. It'll be crowded, he says, already defending himself. His eyes flick to her belly, then back. I don't want you pushing through people. Linda stands slowly, bracing her hand on the table. Quang's hand finds her elbow without thinking. She catches him and shakes her head, but her mouth softens. Okay, she says. You can hover, but I'm choosing the flowers. Deal, he answers, and I'm carrying everything. She grabs the smallest cloth bag from the hook by the door. This one is mine. It stays light. Quang studies her, then nods. Light. Outside, the air has that crisp, late-year bite. Red banners hang along the street. People move with purpose, arms full of branches and boxes, faces lit by errands that feel like tradition. As Quang drives, Linda watches the town change color. At the market, the noise wraps around them the moment they step inside. Vendors call out prices, plastic bags crinkle. The smell is sweet coconut, smoky incense, sharp citrus. Linda inhales slowly, her eyes bright. I missed this, she murmurs. Quang shifts slightly in front of her, not blocking her, just making space. Linda notices. I'm right here. I know, he says, stay close anyway. They start with incense and candles. Linda takes her time, choosing the kind that reminds her of childhood. Quang holds the bag and tracks the crowd with quiet focus. At a dried fruit stall, Linda tastes a tiny sample of candied ginger. She squints. Spicy. The vendor smiles and nods toward her belly. Good for you. Quang pays before Linda can protest. She gives him a look. I'm not a guest, she says, quiet but firm. I want to do this with you. Quang stills, then nods once. Okay, with me. Linda slips a small pack of sunflower seeds into her own bag and lifts it like proof. Light. Quang's mouth curves. Light. A voice cuts through the crowd. Linda? Linda turns and her face opens. Auntie Han! Auntie Han stands there with a basket on her arm, hair pinned neatly, eyes sharp and kind. She takes one look at Linda's belly and then at Quang. This husband is more afraid of you getting tired than he is of losing his wallet. Quang clears his throat. Auntie? Auntie Han steps closer to Linda. How do you feel? Baby kicking? More lately, Linda says, both hands briefly on her belly. Good, Auntie Han says. but don't stand too long. And you, she points at Quang, don't treat her like glass. Pregnant, not broken. Quang looks embarrassed, then honest. I'm trying. Linda squeezes his arm. He is. Auntie Han nods and presses a small bag of candied coconut into Linda's hand. Eat a little. Then she melts back into the crowd. Quang exhales. Linda tilts her head. You got scolded. I got corrected, he says, and she smiles. They reach the flower section and the world feels softer. Pots and branches tied with red string crowd together. Linda slows, drawn in, studying blossoms like she's choosing a mood for their home. This one, she says at first, pointing to a larger pot. Quang looks at the size, then at her face. You're choosing. She laughs under her breath and scans again. She points to a smaller pot with lively buds. That one, enough to feel like Tet. Quang nods and lifts it carefully. Linda watches him, then suddenly stills. Her hand goes to her belly. Quang's head snaps up. What? She inhales, eyes widening. He kicked. Or she, right now. He sets the pot down gently and steps close. Linda guides his hand to the side of her belly. His palm rests there, light. They wait. Then a small, unmistakable thump meets his hand. Quang's face changes. Surprise, relief, wonder all at once. He smiles like he can't help it. Hey, he whispers, not to Linda, but to the baby. We're here. Linda's eyes shine. This year, she says, steadying her voice, it's for 3. Quang swallows and nods. For 3. A moment later, Linda blinks hard, her color fading just a little. Quang sees it immediately. Sit. I'm fine, she starts, stubborn. He guides her to a low plastic stool near the stall and crouches in front of her, opening the tote bag. Warm water, crackers, simple care. Linda takes a sip. The dizziness passes in quiet waves. Quang stays still, watching her face like it's the only thing that matters. After a minute, Linda exhales. You were right. He shakes his head. I don't want to be right. I want you okay. I am okay, she says, softer now. I just forget I'm carrying this much. He reaches up and tucks a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Then let me carry the bags, he says. Her mouth curves, tired but warm. Fine. You carry the bags. They walk back through the market slower. Quang keeps people from brushing too close, but he lets Linda look as long as she wants. Her cloth bag stays light, swinging gently at her side. At the car, Quang secures the blossom pot so it won't tip. Linda eases into the seat, adjusting her belly, her hand resting there. On the drive home, she reaches across the console. Quang meets her hand, fingers closing gently around hers. Back inside, Quang sets the bags on the table and looks at her like he's checking the world is still steady. Linda stands beside the blossom pot and smiles, satisfied in a quiet way. It feels like Tet now, she says. Quang looks at her belly, then at her face. It does, he answers, simple and grounded, and the warmth of it fills the room. Back home, Quang sets the bags on the kitchen island and sorts them with quiet purpose. Food to the left, altar items to the right, decorations stacked in the middle. Linda watches, one hand resting on her very pregnant belly. You're doing that thing again, she says. Quang glances up. What thing? The thing where you decide what I'm allowed to do. He sighs, caught. I'm not deciding. I'm planning. Okay, Linda says, smoothing the red paper on the counter. Then we plan together. Quang nods. Light jobs for you, heavy jobs for me, and meaningful jobs for both, Linda adds. Deal, he says, relieved to have rules that don't turn into a fight. He slips the incense into the wooden box they save for special days. Linda lays out tape and scissors, then unpacks her small cloth bag. Sunflower seeds, dried fruit, and a pair of baby socks folded into a tiny square. Quang's hand stops. He looks at the socks, then at Linda. "You bought those?" "They were light," Linda says, eyes bright. Quang picks them up carefully, rubbing the fabric between his fingers. The softness makes him blink like he's trying to keep his face steady. "That's really small," he murmurs. Linda taps her belly, gentle. "So is the person in here." Quang sets the socks down and reaches across the island for her hand. He holds it, not squeezing, just anchoring himself. "Thank you," he says. "For what?" "For making it feel real," he answers. "Not just something we talk about." "It is real," Linda says, "and you're in it." The moment lingers. Then Linda nods toward the living room. "Flowers, water, you carry." Quang lifts the pot and brings it to the low table near the window. Linda follows slower than usual, one hand sliding along the chair back. Quang waters the roots carefully while Linda wipes the table in small strokes, staying low. When she leans too far, she stops and resets. Quang notices and nudges the basin closer so she doesn't reach. They work through the house in small motions. Linda folds the red paper into simple shapes and hands them over. Quang tapes a few pieces up where she points, bright touches that make the room feel ready. Every few minutes he asks, "How are you feeling?" "Okay," Linda answers. "Heavy, but okay." The second time she says heavy, Quang slides a chair under her. Linda sits without argument. Her pride doesn't disappear. It just learns a new shape. Quang steps down after finishing the last piece of tape. Instinctively, his hand reaches for her elbow as she starts to stand. Linda catches his hand and turns it, pressing his palm to hers instead. "I'm still me," she says gently. Quang nods, eyes soft. "I know. I'm just trying to keep you safe. And I'm trying to keep us normal," Linda says, looking around. The flowers, the red paper, the tidy counter. "Normal for this year." Quang's gaze moves to her belly, then back to her face. "It does feel like Tet," he says. "That's what I wanted," Linda whispers. Quang kneels in front of her chair. He rests his hand on her belly, light. The baby shifts beneath his palm, slow and unmistakable. Quang looks up. "You feel that all day." "I do," Linda says. "It reminds me we're not alone." His mouth tightens with worry he's been carrying. "And you still wanted to go out." Linda's fingertips brush his cheek. "I wanted to go because I don't want to miss my life," she says. "I don't want fear to decide everything for me." Quang holds her wrist gently. "I'm scared," he admits. Linda nods. "I know. I keep thinking if I watch closely enough, nothing bad can happen," he says. "Like control can protect us." Linda leans forward and rests her forehead against his for a beat. "Watching won't stop the world," she whispers, "but loving me through it helps me breathe." Quang closes his eyes. When he opens them, he looks steadier. "Okay," he says. "Tell me what you want right now." "Dinner," Linda says immediately. "Warm, simple." Quang stands and offers his hand. Linda takes it and rises slowly. He doesn't lift her. He just steadies the rhythm. He cooks without fuss. Rice, a simple ginger soup, greens. The kind of meal that makes the house smell calm. When they sit down, the table looks modest but complete. The flower pot is visible from Linda's chair, and the small red accents catch the light when she turns her head. Quang fills her bowl first, then his, and waits until she takes the first bite. Linda chews and exhales, her body easing. "Perfect," she says softly. Quang nods, relieved. "Good." They talk in low voices about little things. where to place the fruit, whether the flowers need more sun, how the baby socks should be kept so they don't get lost. At one point, Quang laughs, quiet and disbelieving, like he still can't accept something that small is meant for them. Halfway through the meal, Linda reaches across and rests her hand on his wrist. "Thank you for taking care of me," she says. Quang looks down at her hand, then up. "Thank you for letting me," he answers. "And thank you for letting me do things," Linda adds, steady. Quang gives a small nod. "I'm trying." After dinner, Quang clears the bowls while Linda stays seated, one hand resting on her belly. He brings her warm water again and a folded blanket from the couch. Linda drapes it over her lap, then shifts her feet under the chair with a small sigh. Quang crouches and rubs her ankle through the sock, slow and careful, the way he handles anything he doesn't want to hurt. Linda watches him and smiles, almost shy. "You did good today," she says. "We did," he answers, not looking up. Before he sits, he picks up the tiny baby socks and places them in the top drawer of the sideboard, away from spills and sunlight, like he's protecting a secret that's already theirs. He comes back and sits beside her, close enough that his shoulder brushes hers. Linda rubs her belly in slow circles. Quang places his hand over hers, not pressing, just sharing the contact. They sit in the quiet, the house softly decorated, their breathing matching without effort. Outside, the evening deepens. Inside, everything feels held. Two people and a
Tập
third they
này
can't see yet, already
Linda
making the room
và
feel fuller.
bà Linda và Linda theo bà và cậu cháu ra nương mía dưới nắng sớm. Bà vừa chặt mía vừa kể chuyện ngày xưa, dạy à, chặt 3 hoặc 4 khúc cho đẹp để bán được giá. Đồng mía cao dần, 45 đồng trở thành hy vọng cho phiên chợ. Một cây mía đổ bất ngờ khiến khiến cả nhóm kêu, rồi cười xòa vì kịp đỡ nhau. Chiều xuống, Linda buồn bã vì con rúi của mình đã biến mất, nghi có kẻ trộm rình quanh nhà. CEO Quang ghé đến lắng nghe và trấn an sự và tự sửa chiếc camera cũ trong kho, kéo dây lắp trước sân nhà để bảo vệ cô. Đêm đến, Linda nấu cơm nếp cẩm mời anh ở lại ăn. Hai người trò chuyện lòng ấm lại. Quang kể áp lực công ty, camera nháy sáng, bóng lạ thoáng qua, và không biết Linda có sống sót qua được đêm nay không. Mọi người nếu thấy video hay, hãy cho mình một like, một subscribe. Cảm ơn mọi người nhé.